Hey Plofessors! Before we begin, I wanted to tell you about today's sponsor Audible and their new Audible original, Korea Boo. Korea Boo is a story about a young British woman named Shayla who's, let's just say, down on her luck. Her best friend, who's actually a huge K-pop fan, recently passed away. She was about to start a new job at her favorite magazine, but then the magazine company shut down. Her boyfriend, who she thought was the perfect man, turned out to actually have a wife on the side. And to top it all off, she can't even pay her rent this month. So she's had to take up odd food delivery jobs across London to make ends meet. So yeah, things really aren't looking good for Shayla. That is, until one of her food delivery jobs puts her face to face with a K-pop star. And not just any K-pop star. As it turns out, he is actually her best friend's favorite artist. I'm not gonna spoil the rest, but as you can probably tell, this is a story with tons of twists and turns, and there's never a dull moment. If I were to describe this story, I would say that it actually reminds me a lot of a good K-drama, in the sense that it has a really cute storyline and tons of romance. But at the same time, the main character, Shayla, is also not a typical K-drama protagonist. She's just a relatable British girl with a totally Western mindset and no knowledge whatsoever about K-pop. And in many ways, she actually really reminds me of some of my best friends in London. I mean, throughout the whole story, whenever Shayla reacted to things or interacted with the other characters, I just found it so funny because I was like, oh my god, that's literally what my friends would say. So it almost felt like I had plopped my friends into a K-drama, and the whole thing just felt like a cool crossover. So needless to say, I really enjoyed Korea Boo, and I'm pretty sure that if you're into K-pop and K-dramas, then you'll definitely love it just as much as I did. But of course, this is just one of the many audiobooks available on Audible. And whether you're interested in true crime, history, pop culture, or any other topic under the sun, I can guarantee that Audible definitely has a book for you. And the best part is, they're currently offering a 30-day free trial. So if you'd like to listen to Korea Boo or any of the other audiobooks available on Audible's massive library, then be sure to head over to the link in my description. Huge thanks to Audible for sponsoring this video, and without further ado, let's jump back into today's story. Concepts are a, concept that every K-pop fan is familiar with. Whether it's cute, girl crush, elegant, or Y2K, the concept dictates the look and feel of every K-pop production and is essential in defining an artist's creative identity and direction. As different concepts fall in and out of popularity, most artists would usually try to adapt or incorporate trending concepts into their music to keep up with the times. But as the K-pop industry becomes more saturated, there have been an increasing number of artists who have decided to take the unconventional route, attempting to stand out from the crowd by taking on bizarre and sometimes outrageous concepts. In this series, we will be exploring some of the most unique groups to ever exist in the history of K-pop. So brace yourselves, because you're watching Crazy Kpop Concepts. LGBTQ rights are still a relatively foreign topic in the conservative country of South Korea, with individuals from this community often facing social stigma and discrimination. Despite this, however, there have been a handful of LGBTQ celebrities who have managed to break boundaries and thrive in the K-pop industry. And perhaps one of the best examples of this is supermodel Harisu, who underwent sex reassignment surgery in the 1990s, becoming only the second person in South Korea to legally change her gender, and she's widely recognized as the country's first transgender celebrity. Harisu first rose to prominence in 2001 after starring in a viral commercial for cosmetics brand Dodo. Initially captivated by her beauty, the public were then shocked to discover that she was actually a transgender woman, and this caused her popularity to shoot up overnight. Since then, Harisu has managed to remain relevant in the K-pop industry, releasing multiple albums and starring in TV shows and commercials. And it was her success that inspired Park Sung-jin, the CEO of Logi Entertainment, to create K-pop's first transgender girl group, Lady. In November of 2004, an audition was held to recruit members for this upcoming girl group. Harisu served as a judge, and it was said that over 400 auditionees turned up, most of whom were scouted from the nightclubs and bars at Itaewon. In the end, 3 auditionees were selected: 29-year-old Shine, 25-year-old Sahara, and 22-year-old Binu. Shine, the leader of the group, was a professional hairdresser as well as a model who had appeared in music videos and commercials. She said that after receiving her gender reassignment surgery in 2002 in Thailand, she had tried to hide it from her parents by binding her chest. But when they found out, they wept bitterly and said that they had raised their child wrong. Thankfully though, they soon came around and she says that they now support her plans. Sahara, the lead vocalist, was well known amongst transgender circles for her beauty. She was previously a model and had even won 4th in the Miss Tiffany Universe pageant, which is a pageant for transgender women. She said that she first discovered that she was transgender as a teenager and decided to get gender reassignment surgery as soon as she turned 18. Lastly, Binu, the maknae and rapper of the group, also claimed to have received surgery in 2004. She said that she was inspired by Harisu and dropped out of high school to pursue a career in the entertainment industry. But due to her androgynous voice, she struggled with singing and decided to focus on rapping instead. Due to how small the transgender community in Korea was, the 3 members apparently already knew each other and were said to be friends. So they immediately jumped into preparations for their debut, training for around 5 hours a day in dance and 2 hours a day in vocals. Eventually, a 4th member named Ji Yuna was also added to the lineup as a main vocalist. And in April of 2005, Lady officially made their debut with a sexy concept, releasing the songs Attention and Ladies Night. Initially, Logi Entertainment and the Lady members seemed to have really high hopes for their debut. In an interview, the Lady members said, quote, "We want to dominate the music industry with powerful choreography and singing skills that cannot be compared with any other female groups." The original plan was to increase hype for Lady's debut by giving away 30,000 limited edition versions of their debut album before beginning official sales. And Logi Entertainment even had plans to promote Lady overseas, signing a distribution contract with Japanese company Artistbox to distribute their album at 6,500 Family Mart locations across Japan. However, reception to Lady's debut was mixed at best, and although the group did receive some attention, no pun intended, most of it wasn't all that positive. Some people criticized the group for their lack of vocal and dance skills, while others sadly left transphobic comments, insulting the members' looks and gender identities. It seemed like overall it was just quite taboo to be seen liking Lady in any way, and so many people, especially straight men, were quite reluctant to leave any positive comments, as they were scared that this would somehow make them look gay. Not to mention, Lady also became an obvious target for religious and conservative communities, who accused the group of promoting sexual perversion and transgenderism amongst the Korean youth. Because of all the negative reactions, Lady only managed to promote on TV a handful of times before they slowly started getting uninvited to more and more shows. Some TV stations, such as the Catholic Peace Broadcasting Corporation, flat out banned Lady from appearing on all their platforms, stating bluntly that, quote, "We are banning Lady from appearing on broadcast because we do not acknowledge the existence of transgender people." Other TV stations, though, tried to take a more subtle approach, politely declining Lady's appearances on their channel due to unavoidable circumstances like scheduling issues.
And we're backing away and backing away and backing away!
By mid-2005, Lady had pretty much been shadow banned from all major TV stations, and in the end, they had no choice but to hold their album showcase in a nightclub in Gangnam. The album, which was originally scheduled to be available for purchase after the free giveaway, also never actually went on sale, probably due to the poor reception. It was clear that the shock factor from Lady's debut was starting to wear off, and with virtually no opportunities to promote their music, the public was slowly starting to lose interest in the group. But of course, desperate times call for desperate measures, and so this was when Logi Entertainment decided that it was time for Lady to pull their most controversial move yet, to release a nude photo book. On the 2nd of June 2005, Lady released their photo book titled Women Reflect, which was distributed digitally via Korea's major telecom companies. The photo book, which was apparently taken in Pattaya, Thailand, featured risque images of the members both in and out of their bikinis, which I can't show for obvious reasons, you perv. A press conference was also held for the book's release, during which the members expressed that they had taken these nude photos because they wanted to prove that they were real women. A spokesperson from Logi Entertainment also expressed that the company had high hopes for the book, saying, "We are expecting sales of over 500 million won in Korea and equivalent sales in Japan and China. This nude event is a stepping stone for overseas activities." And while the spokesperson was half right, indeed, the photos immediately went viral across Asia, even ranking #1 on popular image searches on the day of its release. Though for all the wrong reasons. As you might expect, most people weren't looking at these photos because they wanted to admire the members' beauty, but were instead there to get in on internet gossip and look for any and all signs of the members' birth sex, if you know what I mean. The photos were quickly distributed onto porn sites and discussion forums where many people could view them for free. And so even though these photos were widely distributed, it didn't actually make the company all that much money. Additionally, the photo book also generated headlines for another unexpected reason: its title. During the press conference, the spokesperson from Logi Entertainment explained that the book was named Women Reflect because, quote, "All the members were born male, and through constant body management, they have excellent bodies that can be compared to internationally famous models. So ordinary women should reflect on their efforts."
What?
This obviously rubbed the already disapproving public the wrong way, especially because, let's be real, Lady had mostly attained their bodies through plastic surgery, so people felt like they really had no right body shaming other women. As the number of Lady haters increased, people began digging through old interviews and found other instances where they supposedly disrespected women. For example, in an interview from their pre-debut days, the members had stated, quote, "We love chocolate, shopping, and gossip. Mentally, we were always women. The only difference being that we changed something physical. Simply, we are women with an extra scar." Shine and Sahara had also said that they knew they were feminine because they enjoyed things like knitting and looking in the mirror. And these statements led to accusations that Lady was perpetuating gender stereotypes and portraying women as being shallow and superficial. So at this point, Lady's reputation was already at an all-time low. But the straw that truly broke the camel's back happened on the 21st of July, when Lady was promoting their photo book in Japan. During a press conference, a reporter from Nikkan Sports asked Lady about the issue of military service. As you probably know, all Korean men are expected to serve in the military for 1.5 years. But in the case of Lady, although they were born biologically male, they now identified as female. So how would that work? Would they still be required to serve? It was a great question indeed, and one that Lady and your company seemingly hadn't really thought through, because member Shine then impulsively answered, quote, "There is no need to enlist because all the members are transgender." This immediately caused a ton of controversy and confusion because Japanese news outlets then started reporting that Lady had already been granted military exemption because they were transgender. Meanwhile, Korean news outlets reported the opposite, stating that there was no such thing as guaranteed military exemption for transgendered women. So I decided to do my own research, and it turns out that the issue of transgendered women in the military is actually very complex and doesn't even have any exact legal guidelines. From what I've seen, usually people who have legally changed their genders are exempt from the military. But it isn't always 100% guaranteed. And the government also takes into account other factors like whether or not they're married, whether they've gotten the consent of their parents, which is pretty weird, how far along they are in terms of hormone therapy and gender reassignment surgery, and whether or not they have been officially diagnosed with what was called sexual perversion. Yup, that was an actual diagnosis back in the 2000s. So how does all of this apply to Lady? Well, in the case of Lady, it turns out all the members had not legally changed their genders yet. In other words, they were still legally male, so their exemption from the military wasn't exactly guaranteed. But to make matters worse, it was then discovered that the youngest member, Binu, had actually lied about getting gender reassignment surgery. And this quickly led to accusations that she had pretended to be transgender just so she could evade military service. Now, obviously, I don't believe these accusations to be true, but considering the lack of understanding about transgender issues at the time, it's no surprise that many Korean people quickly believed these claims. And if you need to know one thing about the South Korean public, it is that they take military evasion very seriously. From Steve Yu to Vix's Ravi, even the most beloved celebrities have had their careers permanently destroyed due to these scandals. So this same Korean public was definitely not gonna let Binu get away with this. The backlash was immediate, and by the very next day, the story had already made headline news across Korea. The members desperately tried to retract their statements, releasing an apology that read, "Shine was momentarily embarrassed by a question from the Japanese media reporter and made the statement about military service without checking the facts." A press conference was also held where they further apologized for their statement, saying, "It was hasty to say that I was exempted because I was transgender, and for that I am sorry." And Binu also addressed the issue of her surgery, stating that she hadn't tried to deceive the public on purpose.
처음부터 숨기려고 했던 것은 아니었습니다. 다만 여러 사람들 앞에서 좀 더 완벽한 여성으로 보여주고 싶었기 때문에 사실을 밝히지 않고 방송 활동을 시작하게 되었습니다. 그리고 방송 활동이 바빠지면서 스스로 할 수 있는 시간적 여유와 기회를 갖지 못했을 뿐입니다. 하지만 수술을 하지 않았더라도 저는 여자임이 분명합니다.
But this did not do much to stop the outrage, and after this scandal, Lady pretty much disappeared from Korea entirely. Instead, they decided to focus on overseas promotions in Japan, Hong Kong, and mainland China, where their song Attention was apparently a club hit. Unfortunately though, these overseas promotions were difficult for Lady because of their company's lack of funds and language barrier. The group managed to do a few magazine shoots and interviews, but they did not make any major strides. And by late 2006, they had pretty much gone radio silent before quietly disbanding in February of 2007. After the disbandment, Shine went back to her hairdressing career, and she also started a YouTube channel where she regularly uploads ASMR content. Meanwhile, Sahara appeared on TV in 2012 as a panelist for XY Her, which is a KBS talk show about transgender issues. However, she once again faced setbacks when the show was cancelled after just one episode thanks to complaints and protests from religious groups. Since then, she has mostly done live streams with her friends on Africa TV and appears to be living a normal life. As for Binu and Yuna, there have been no updates, and it is assumed that they too have left the K-pop industry. And that's all we know about the members for now. Overall, I think that Lady's downfall really came down to a few main factors. Firstly, much like the other groups that I've covered in my Crazy Kpop Concepts series, Lady was a group that primarily relied on shock factor to get by. But due to their short training period of only 5 months, they didn't necessarily have the skills to impress viewers or keep any actual fans, so the attention that they received was bound to be short-lasting. It also didn't help that the group was constantly getting themselves into controversies, from their statements about women's bodies to lying about transgender surgery, which just further damaged their reputation, especially in Korea. However, it's undeniable that the biggest reason for their lack of success comes down to transphobia. Since the very beginning, the group already faced tons of barriers and were deprived of opportunities solely based on the fact that they were transgender. So honestly, no matter how talented they were or how careful they tried to be during interviews, the chances of them succeeding had always been very slim. Sadly, this sort of discrimination against sexual minorities continues even today. However, attitudes have slowly been changing, and since then, we have seen the emergence of more and more LGBTQ celebrities who have managed to get positive responses from the public, such as gay singer Holland, bisexual idol Song Hae-in, and gender non-conforming singer Jo Kwon, just to name a few. So who knows? Perhaps one day we will see another, hopefully better transgendered K-pop group. But until then, Lady remains the first and the only group of its kind to ever debut in K-pop history. But yeah, that concludes the story of Lady, and I'm interested to know what you guys think. Would you have supported this group? And do you have any other similar LGBTQ groups from your country? Let me know in the comment section down below. And if you enjoyed this video, then please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And as usual, the research notes for this video will be on Patreon, so you can check it out there if you're interested. And I guess that's all we have for today, so I'll see you guys next time. Bye! Thank you for watching, and special thanks to my Patreon members for supporting my channel. If you'd like to watch reaction videos and other bonus content, then be sure to check that out on my Patreon.